Wow. What a complete, just devastating loss. Can you guys hear me? Just someone confirm in the chat for me. Oh, man. Nights like these are brutal. Absolutely brutal. Is anyone out there? Well, another painful night of misery for your New Jersey Devils. Looking to build on what was a phenomenal win. The Devils go to Colorado and just terrible outing. Terrible outing. The Devils lose 5-1. The score slightly misleading. It was a game for most of the game, even though the Devils got outplayed for large stretches of it. Jake Allen, I thought, had a very good game till the end. Kept them in there, and then it all just fell apart. You know, Devils down 1-0. Power play chances, they couldn't get anything done. Timo Meier almost scores 3 goals again. Someone hit a post. I mean, it was just jackhughes can't convert on another breakaway. There were so many chances to tie the game up early. They couldn't do it. Went down 2-0. Jack gets one in the third period to make it interesting for a couple minutes. And then on the power play, can't even talk anymore. Nathan MacKinnon with a just ridiculous display of hand-eye coordination gives them the third goal for the 3-1 lead. And that's, it all just fell apart. Then they packed it in with, it was like 5 minutes and change left. They tack on 2 more, 5-1. And what a painful loss. Oh, I almost forgot. Win or lose, we booze, guys. Going with the Dirty Devil again. Dirty Devil vodka for nights like these. And completely painful. I'm gutted, and I'll get into a bunch of stuff. But cheers to you guys, especially for, staying up late, coming to hang out and commiserate. This one was painful. And because of the way all went down at the end, probably cheers to my Devils fans, probably one of the more painful losses on the year. Game stats. Let's reload these in case they change some. Devils 23 shots on goal, Avalanche with 36. Devils 47.1% on the faceoffs, Avalanche 52.9%. Devils 0 for 2 on the power play, and they were ugly. And the Avalanche 2 for 4 on the power play. Big difference there. They score on half their chances. Devils with 22 hits, Avalanche with 16. Devils 12 block shots, the Avalanche is 15. Devils 19 giveaways, Avalanche with 22. Devils 3 takeaways, Avalanche 5 takeaways. And we are just out-muscled, out-manned, outgunned. Disastrous. A disastrous game. And like I've said for a few weeks, I do believe genuinely that the playoffs have felt like a coin flip for at least a few weeks now. And despite whatever these people come up with these odds, I don't know how they calculate them or whatever, but it's like, oh, in the high 80s or 90%. Like, I'm not buying that for a minute. I don't really care what these math people, odds makers come up with. I just can't see how the Devils are remotely that favored, I guess, if you will, to make the playoffs. And especially with the inconsistency, it's just terrible. I'm heartbroken tonight. Not just because of the loss. Had they ended up losing the game 2-1 or even 3-1 with an empty net, it would have been a painful loss. But I think the way the team gave up at the end and just allowed the Avalanche to just put it on us, to pad the lead, was demoralizing. It just shows complete lack of heart, lack of anything, in my opinion. And you saw Jake Allen storm off at the end. In the post-game, Sheldon Keefe tried to say he had cramps or something, but that's all bullshit. He stormed off the ice because he was furious. And I don't know that I've ever seen that before, where a goalie just pulls himself and just heads to the locker room. I can't recall seeing that in the past. And, Jake Allen was the player of the game again for us. Once again, on a night where the offense just seems extremely in a funk, can't finish. Our best player was once again the guy between the pipes, whether it's Markey or Jake Allen. That's been the story on many nights. And on a team that has struggled to find goals with some of the top 6 guys that we do have, your goalie can't constantly be your best player night in and night out. It's just you're asking too much. And I don't put this loss on Jake Allen at all. The offense has just been abysmal, and at this point, the reality is this team is just not very good. It looks like I was wrong. I mean, I'm not going to say I was completely wrong as of yet. There still is time, but as of right now, with the inconsistencies and the inability to finish, what we've seen all of 2025, there is nothing remotely resembling the team before the Christmas break. There's nothing remotely to point to as a positive, really, outside of the few games where we, seem to come alive. That Jacques Lemaire night went over the Bruins. I think we had 5 goals, beating the Predators the other night. But it's just the tale of two teams. You'll see a team that can explode like that, and then the very next game, like tonight, you see a team that just can't finish on any chances at all. Breakaways, sloppy power plays. And it's painful at this juncture. If I had to predict, I would say just because of how bad some of the other teams are, the Devils might cling on to a wild card spot, but I just can't see them doing any damage in the playoffs outside of just complete domination in net by Markstrom. I mean, Markstrom would have to steal series because this team, scoring 1 goal consistently is not going to get you anywhere. So it would have to be, complete Markstrom just stealing games and stealing a series. It is painful. The bottom 6 has just been completely abysmal. People were pointing out, Hall hasn't had a point since Thanksgiving. I mean, that's 3 months ago. Like, how is that even possible? Like, third pairing defensemen on most teams in the league have more than 1 point in the past 3 calendar months. It's all just disgusting. And yeah, we were outclassed. The Avalanche, despite where they are in the standings, once the playoffs begin, I think, they are as dangerous as any team. I know they're a little higher up than I thought. Wow. Okay, I don't pay much attention to the West as much. But yeah, they're firmly in the number 1 wild card spot, and the Pacific is good. So is the Central. I mean, wow. Pacific is stacked. The Central's good. Yeah, the West Coast has some really good teams. But regardless where the Avs finish in the standings, once the playoffs begin, they're very capable of winning a cup again, in my opinion. And Mackenzie Blackwood, once again, it looked like he was going to get the shutout. He's owned the Devils, a shutout and 1 goal against tonight. Shutout with the Sharks and 1 goal tonight. He's given up 1 goal on like 70-something shots. Ridiculous. I do think if Jack could have buried that breakaway, the game could have went differently. There's a lot of things that could have happened within the game that could have changed the outcome. But in the end, I hate to say it, this team is looking more and more like a pretender with each passing day. You never know what you're going to get. When they're on top of their game, I think they are still capable of beating anyone. But the reality is they cannot play that way consistently. And so where are you really going? It's great that, on certain nights we all get false hope and kind of faith renewed. But after tonight, again, it's just the way that they lost. To just give up at the end and leave Jake Allen out to dry, and he stormed off the ice, and good for him. At least he showed some heart. And we've seen that from Markey, too. I forget what game it was. He left the ice and was smashing his stick. He was fired up, and you could tell he wants to win. He's a fiery competitor. I love Markey, one of my favorite players on this team. But in the end, this group is just not consistent enough, and it's really painful. I had super high hopes in the summer coming into the season. Early on there was some rough patches, but once, Thanksgiving came around and heading up into that Christmas break, even the Doomers, the longtime Doomers in the fan base and in the chat on this channel were believers because they looked phenomenal. They were playing great hockey, physical. They set that NHL record, 7 straight games, allowing the opposition only 20 shots or less against. And whatever happened after that break, it all fell apart. 2025 has been a complete, just dark cloud for this team. And yeah, now we're in a dogfight to even make the playoffs. I mean, if they miss the playoffs, I don't even want to think about that. But let's see, Devils at 70 points, another chance to take a temporary lead on the Hurricanes, foiled. So now we're still tied with the Hurricanes in points. They have 2 games in hand. Even if we got an overtime or shootout loss tonight, we would have temporarily went ahead of them. They have their own issues post, trading Natchez for Rantanen. It's looking more and more like they're going to be trying to deal Rantanen, and probably a regrettable decision for them. But wow, 70 points. And yeah, Columbus has 64. Oh boy. And they have 2 games in hand on us. So if they win those 2 games, it's only a 2-point differential. Detroit has the first spot in 66. I mean, yeah, it's slowly slipping away before our eyes. Something that I've talked about for at least a few weeks now. I put out a video, I think, said I'm officially hitting the panic button. That was like a month ago. And a lot of people said, obviously the Doomers were on board with hitting the panic button, way before that. But a lot of people were like, oh, it's way too soon. And no, it's not, because you see how quick it happens. That was already a month ago. And since then, nothing has changed. The race has gotten tighter and the playoffs are in jeopardy. And the reality is, listen, I'll be ecstatic just to make the playoffs, just for this group to make the playoffs once again. And again, once you make the playoffs, this team has looked like garbage as of late. And that's the reality. But anything can happen. You get lucky bounces. A goalie could steal a series, and all of a sudden now you get out of the first round. It's like, all right, now maybe, some miraculous good feelings combined with luck, you could maybe win another round. You never know. I'm always a proponent of just get into the playoffs and see what could happen. But at this point, we're going to be limping into the playoffs, just hanging on to a spot by a thread. And it sucks. It really, really sucks. Obviously, you guys know that I eat, sleep, and breathe New Jersey Devils hockey. The season started off, like I said, heading into that Christmas break, I was flying high. Me and some of my Devils fan friends had some great conversations. We were, we weren't planning the Stanley Cup parade, but we were like, wow, are we really going to make a run for the division? And since then, it's just been... The plane has nosedived. I do wish Fitz made a move sooner. A lot of people are being super critical of him. I'm going to reserve judgment until I see what he does before the deadline. But it's like, what's that, a week and a half away? A lot can change in that week and a half. And my biggest fear that I've said from a couple weeks ago was that my biggest fear is that we once again punt on a season and do not try to make the acquisitions necessary for the home stretch of the season and into the playoffs. And if that happens, I will be the most critical of pretty much every layer of the organization at that point. I mean, there's just no excuse. 2 seasons in a row. Last season should have never panned out the way it did. Granted, I do agree with all of the people, that were like, oh, last year's team sucked. And like, they were bad, but they weren't as bad as people make them out to be. I do believe with any mediocre goalie, we could have at least clawed into the playoffs. And I would take that 100 times out of 100 over the people that are like, tank for a pick. I am completely anti-tank. I am always of the mindset of make the playoffs, see what you could do, get the learning experience for the group, especially all these young guys that a lot of them, their first playoff the season before, that magical 22-23 season, that now more and more as time goes on, the people that said it was a fluke may be vindicated in time. And it kills me to say that. I did not think it was a fluke. I thought I had high hopes for last year's team as well. We saw the disaster that was. The defense was atrocious. The goaltending was even worse. Fitz did nothing. We punted on the season. I was devastated and could not wait for this season to begin. And here we are once again, obviously in a better position than last year, but not by much. And while I do think the team is better on paper than that 22-23 team, I mean, all of the big guns are still here with the addition of a real goalie in Markstrom and, some of these other guys. It's been a mess. 2025 has been an absolute calamity, and missing the playoffs should not even be an option. If they miss the playoffs, I will say that this would have to be the worst and darkest season in franchise history. I just don't see how it wouldn't be. After setting the record in 22-23, winning a playoff round against the Rangers in 7, to then miss the playoffs with all of the same key guys on the roster, to miss the playoffs the next 2 years would be unforgivable, and there would need to be sweeping changes. There would absolutely need to be sweeping changes, but I don't know, guys. I'm devastated, but I'm slowly now. I'm always going to hold out hope, but it's give me 1 second. I got something blocking here. I'm always going to hold out hope, but my faith in the group being capable of, doing some real damage in the playoffs is waning with each passing day, because as each passing day goes on, we're just seeing more and more inconsistency and more of the same old shit. And it sucks. It completely sucks. I'm hoping we bring in the fortifications. A lot of people have huge expectations. I've for a while said I thought at a minimum Fitz would get a bottom 6 guy. I was hoping for 2 bottom 6 guys, but I am now, I just don't know. I really, if we punt on the season, I'm going to lose my mind. Number 1. Number 2, I do think you could use the deadline as an opportunity to not only trade for, rental or playoff type pieces, but you might be able to get a guy that can contribute beyond the season. And I do think regardless, or I guess it depends on what the moves are at the deadline, but improving the team for next season and beyond is now a real concern as well. Our bottom 6 just needs a complete makeover. I'm not going to single guys out, but I mean, the bottom 6 has just been god awful. And on nights where the top 6 is a little slower looking rusty, we're getting nothing from the bottom 6. It's just completely crazy. And the inability for the top 6 to finish consistently is crazy too. And this is where at the deadline, I think with each passing day, I'm more and more wanting Fitz to figure out a way to get McCann, because I think he could help us immediately for the stretch going into the playoffs and obviously the playoffs themselves. But let me see these websites don't make it easy. Yeah, McCann is signed $5 million cap hit. He's signed for 2 more years after this. That's a piece that if he's being shopped, if the price isn't crazy, it's not a desperation move just to try to salvage or help this season. That's helping us into the future. And if we don't get a guy like that at the deadline, Fitz should 100% be looking for a guy like that in the offseason. So if the deal presents itself and it makes sense, now I'm more along the lines of, look for guys that could help you in the future as well. And I think a guy like McCann at a $5 million cap hit with 2 more years beyond this year would be a great move. I don't know. I'd have to look at the unrestricted free agents and stuff and, who could potentially be targets. But the reality is, I'm sorry, Palat is not a top 6 guy. We've been forcing a square peg in a round hole all season, and it sucks. I am gutted. I'm hoping for the best at the deadline. I'm hoping somehow Fitz gets 2 guys that could really shock some life into this team, and all of a sudden they wake up and look much more like the team we saw in December. But it's painful. I'm at a loss for words almost. I mean, I just talked for a while right here, but I was kind of stunned at the meltdown at the end of this game, and to see Allen just storm off the ice, I was like, yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. If I was on this team, I'd be breaking shit. Now I'm going to get to the comments here. Let me see where I'm going to start. Woodson, even if Markey would steal a series or 2, we'd be too worn down to do anything. Well, I mean, if he steals 2 series, then we stole 2 series. I mean, that'd be better than not making the playoffs, right? Oh, man. Yo, Holmes, NJ just needs to call Colorado our daddy. Yeah, they certainly are our daddy. Roman Czechmonic, team is soft and Fitz is sort of up and down GM who doesn't know how to build a team. It's not the worst situation. It's not the best. I'm pretty down on it right now. I do think a couple pieces could really go a long way, but is it going to happen? I don't know. I'll be doing tons of trade deadline videos and lives and stuff, but it'd be nice to be able to string together a few wins. I mean, shit. It's just highs and lows. An emotional roller coaster with this New Jersey Devils team. And my heart can't take it anymore. My heart cannot take it anymore. Yo, Holmes, you know, I've hated Colorado since 2001. Louis and Jay, the actual losses aside, the way that they lose has been a red flag all year. I can't believe we're actually having to have this conversation again this year. I'm stunned, Louis. I'm stunned. After the offseason acquisitions by Fitz, I had much higher hopes for this team, and my hopes and expectations looked they were pretty close there in December. It looked like I was like, this is the team I expected. And since then, it's just been a train wreck. Celluloid therapy, extremely poor personnel management by Fitzgerald. Look who we traded for McDermott. That guy is turning into a serious C prospect. Didn't we trade a pick for him? Or was it it was a prospect? I can't even remember. Oh, Zakhar Bardakov. I could care less about prospects. I mean, listen, I wouldn't be shocked if he pans out to be something, but in the end, like, that's the least. We have so many bigger problems than that. Jay Snow, we can't score, you can't win. Joe says Pesci has been invisible. Jack, imagine if Toffoli was on the team and Palat wasn't. Same contracts, by the way. Well, I mean, obviously, if you could trade Palat for Toffoli, you would, but Toffoli at $6 million heading into this season was just not a good move for the Devils, in my opinion. You know, but is he a way better value at $6 million than Palat? Absolutely. But this team just needs, I don't even know. I do think it goes deeper than on the ice too. Like, I think we do have a cultural issue, and I hate to say it. I just think that that is the reality. Stanley 62495 as BC said, problems throughout the entire roster aside from goaltending, but even there, the goalies are dinosaurs. It'll be an issue almost immediately. I'm not worried about goaltending either. Oddly enough, after last season, goaltending and defense really are no concern for me. We do have a ton of kids. I do believe Dawes is going to be decent and could be a decent guy in a tandem situation, whether he's the 1A or 1B. And we have all those other guys in the pipeline, Poulter and Jacob Malik, Tyler Brennan. My boy Mikhail Yegorov is looking like the real deal Holyfield for Boston University. I mean, the kid's numbers are insane. He just looks great in net. I've been able to watch a bunch of their games on TV. I saw him live last weekend. Yegorov is going to be a good one. I'm not too worried about goaltending, but I am certainly worried about the forwards. The forward grouping for me, the outlook on the forwards, going forward is pretty grim. Pretty grim. Trevor, not heavier, not edgier, and definitely not more violent. No heart. Yeah, tonight was a gutless performance. A gutless performance. Yo, Holmes, how to stop NJ? Just stop the rush. That is the tried and true playbook of how to neutralize the New Jersey Devils and their offensive firepower. And that's why I talked about the last game. I was so excited when I saw that Nashville came to play pond hockey. I was like, yeah, baby. I wish every team played us that way because that is where we thrive. But the smart teams know that and obviously try to slow down the rush, clog the middle, make us work harder for goals. And that's where the Devils struggle. And I do think now this is where getting some pieces at the deadline could really help. Get guys that will get in on a nasty forecheck, that could cycle, that will go to the corners, win board battles, smash guys. We just need more warriors, and we don't have enough of them. Not nearly enough. Jason Snow says it's time to move a big piece. Alexander the Greg. Allen gave up after the third goal. He plays so well and gets no goal support. It's got to be so frustrating. Yeah. Jake Allen, once again, our best player on the ice, and he was deserted. No goal support. And his numbers on another team, the way he's playing this year is crazy. If he was on even a anywhere near consistent team, he would be putting up massive, massive numbers. Lots of wins. Justin T, playoffs, good experience, but at this point, build for next year. No, Justin. Playoffs or bust. Playoffs or bust. We punted last year, and there's residual effects. A losing mentality. You cannot have that losing mentality. The playoffs need to be the expectation every year. You have to make the playoffs. It's just a matter of how far you're going to go. So he's sitting here talking about, try again next year. No way. No way. Yo, Holmes, Chico's adamant the team needs a trade now. Yeah, I mean, I thought we could have used one a couple weeks ago, but this is where I think Fitz is really analysis paralysis, trying to get the best deal possible. And if in 10 days from now, well, let's just see, it's March 7th. How many games do we have technically before that? So we have Utah on the 1st. Yeah, another back-to-back with Vegas. My God. The 1st, 2nd, 4th, and then deadline day is is it the 7th? I don't know why I had the 7th in my head. Yeah, it is. So we got Utah, Vegas, Dallas before the deadline. 3 games. And then one on deadline day at night. Yeah, wow. Got to be adding. Roman Checkmonic, the panic button should never be off with this team. I don't care what happens. Woodson says, happier and more positive than Chico and traveling combined. Jay Snow, I'm not happy to make the playoffs to be bounced in the first round. Well, no one's happy to be bounced in the first round, but it could not be more, whatever you want to call it, solidified in my conviction that I will take that over not making the playoffs any day. Any day. Justin T, otherwise lose to get good drafts. No, can't do it. Brian J, the Doomers live in reality. The rest of you guys live in fantasy land. Okay. Chico, send Holland, Tatar to Utica and call up any 2 forwards on the team. I'm not even kidding. There's no way they could be worse. I've seen Legary and Hallinan, I think, should get extended looks. I agree. You know, how much worse could any random 2 guys from Utica look than what we've been getting? Louis says, I know Woodson smokes crack, but I'm curious how much to come up with this. Woodson, trade Kovacevic, trade Allen. Best thing that could happen is we have 4 second rounders to use in the offseason. I think, does Allen have a no trade clause? I think he'd be furious too, because of the whole issue to get him over here and all that stuff. I can't see it. I don't think he does. Jack, New Jersey Devils, fire wagon, rush hockey. Chase knows it's been too many years of this shit. Trevor, we don't beat good teams. Not good if we can manage to make the playoffs. Well, we have beat some good teams this year. Most notably, the one that always comes to mind is Florida back-to-back on their home ice. But we've played okay against better teams for the most part. And then we struggle randomly with bad teams. It's just a bipolar hockey team. The New Jersey Devils are a bipolar hockey team. Yo, Holmes, Casey hasn't played a shift in the last 2 third periods. Keefe shortens and shuffles the bench worse than Ruff. Yeah, I don't even know why you're going to put him in the lineup if you're going to be afraid to play him. I don't know. I thought that was kind of strange as well. What did he finished with very little time on ice tonight. Let's see. And in a game where we couldn't score, I think you got to live with the mistakes. Don't hide him on the bench. Put him out there and let's see what he could do. I think it's unfair to him. Yeah, he had 9 minutes and 38 seconds. It's crazy. Yo, Holmes says Fitz locked himself into this team. BC, Fitz won't do anything. Stanley, making the playoffs is a waste of time. It'll be Washington 2024. Worse, it gives Fitzgerald some leeway. To hell with that. He needs to be gone. Woodson, Devils are masterclass at bringing up prospects and limiting their ice time or pairing them with our worst players. Art, intensity is picked up after Christmas, and the figure skaters are just too soft. Hall is a bum. Cotter is barely a 4th line. Gutting is the only way. Cotter's good, man. I like Cotter. He's one of our only guys that smashes people regularly. Most guys were invisible tonight. And he's probably demoralized playing on that 4th line after getting chances on the 2nd and 3rd earlier in the season. Louis, this team used to not get a save. Now they get saves and can't score a goal. Joke. Yeah, complete reversal from last year. We were scoring and couldn't get stops in net. Now we're getting good goaltending and our guys can't score. Jack, put Jack, McCabe, and Nico on a line together and replace the other 9 forwards with Utica guys. There would be no difference. I'm waiting to get to a Timo comment. Chico, I can't blame Keefe when it's the same problems you saw under Ruff and Hines. Inconsistency. Yeah, at some point you have to look to the players. The coaches can only do so much. And honestly, Keefe is dealing with a less than ideal roster in many areas right now. Max says, Ace, can you play the Price is Right loser? But that's how I feel about this team right now. Yeah, so do I. Ritter Engine says, Fitz needs to package Mercer and Nemitz ASAP. Jay Snow says, please get rid of Mercer. Woodson says, Mercer and Nemitz have no value. I still think Nemitz has value and Mercer. Not what it may have been in the past, but I believe they definitely still have some value, especially to teams that are, younger and on the come up. All they would bring is prospects and bottom liners. SST says, be called a doomer is the highest honor. Ravi, break up this core, please. They're not getting anywhere with this gutless pretender team. If they miss the playoffs, I think, that's going to have to happen. I don't even want to think about it. Missing the playoffs, honestly, is nauseating. At no point in the offseason did I think that could be the reality. At no point through Christmas did I think that could be the reality. And here we are where, again, despite what the odds say, it certainly has felt like a coin flip to me for a long time. Missing the playoffs, I think you might have to look at breaking up that core. I mean, how many times are we going to watch the same movie and expect the ending to be different? And I think, that could be something that has to happen. Yo Holmes says Woodson equals wrong. Dubs is like just a bad offensive team. Yes, the jack line creates, but they are one and done mostly. If you don't maintain ozone pressure, it kills the goalies and D-men. Just no identity. They watch Jack and Brad. Jeff, they waited way too long to make a move and will be in a fight for their playoffs lives 3-7. It's definitely possible. Max, problem with the trade market right now is that so many teams are in the mix. It's a seller's market. Prices are sky high. Well, then if you're always going to have an excuse not to make a move, we're going to perpetually get nowhere. But if it's another punt, I'm going to be in meltdown mode. Definitely in meltdown mode. Chico, Devils right now are 32, 22, and 6. On this exact day last year, they were 30, 25, and 4 for 64 points. A 6-point difference, not good enough. Completely agree. Jack says Timo non-factor Meier. And again, if you watch the game, and it's not just me being biased, I believe Timo was at a minimum, he was our second best forward tonight. And if you didn't see that, then we're going to agree to disagree. Without Timo Meier, again, do I want him to be producing more? Absolutely. Has he been snake bitten and can't find the back of the net? Absolutely. But the reality is this team, he had 5 shots on goal, 2 hits. 5 shots on goal and 2 hits. This team would be way worse off without Timo Meier. And if you didn't see that watching the game tonight, then again, I don't know what to tell you. I think the only guy you could make a case for being a better forward was Jack because he scored. But if Jack didn't score, I'd probably say Timo had the better game. But yeah, obviously production needs to increase and he needs to start scoring. And it's been a painful drought. But to say he's a non-factor is just completely erroneous. Yo Holmes says blaming Mercer for tonight is hilarious. Jeff, hoping and waiting, patient to a fault. Celluloid therapy, Nemitz should not be considered for a trade unless it's a monster deal with multiple players. Otherwise, Nemitz is a part of the future of this team. I had that standpoint up till a couple weeks ago. I've dropped the bar considerably for the types of guys that I would trade Nemitz in a deal for. It used to be something like that would be, I would say it has to be a monster player with term. In the end now, probably mostly because just of how dire I feel like this team needs a shakeup in some way, and combined with the whole thing with the quotes to the media, I would trade Nemitz in a deal to get McCann. I really would. When's the January 6th at the Rock? Traveling Devil, they need more than a rental. I agree. Dogzilla, missed call. Blackwood cuts down Jack. Play goes the other way, sets up the Nate just flopping on plot stick. That was the beginning of the end tonight. Yo, Holmes, remember when Fitzgerald waived Wedgwood just so he could sign John Gillies? That year was great. Man. Hey, I firmly believe Timo messed up the team chemistry bad. This team was literally unstoppable until that trade. Then we lost key guys next season. I don't think that's the case. I think teams watched more tape and figured out the ideal way to shut down the New Jersey Devils. And teams that play smart hockey do that. They clog up the neutral zone, beat on us a little bit, force us to work for it, and they're not the best at it. We've seen little bits and pieces of the Devils being able to generate goals other than on the rush. But again, like the team's performance overall, way too few and far between and not nearly consistent enough. And it's unfortunate, but that is the reality of this team right now. They're not a full one-trick pony, but they're close to it. Louis, if this team slips into a wild card spot, why even bother selling assets for rentals? Well, like I said a few minutes ago, I'm not really looking for pure rentals. I'd be hoping to get guys like McCann that have a couple years left that could help us into the future, because obviously we have issues that need to be addressed that go far beyond just this season and the playoffs. And so McCann, I think, would be a great guy. With 2 years left, but it wouldn't be just a rental. I'm not, for this particular team now, given the way everything's played out in recent times, I am not really a bottom six rental I'd be okay with, but I'm not trying to spend assets on like a pure rental. It's got to be somebody who we think fits with the group and could help for at least a couple years into the future. Max, last time Natchez did that, we lost 7-10. Hopefully we could rebound better. Cellular Therapy says Hall, Lazar, Bastion, and Tatar all garbage. Jeff, and then when we could have had Rossi, Askarov, or Jarvis, but we picked Holtz. It's going to be a big whiff on a high draft pick that's going to haunt us for a while. Hopefully, though, the emergence of Mikhail Yegorov kind of erases the sting of missing out on Askarov. And hopefully he has a better career than him, too. Wouldn't that be something? But two of the guys trying to be the next great Russian in between the pipes. Roman Checkbox says, I feel like McCann could single-handedly change the team. I don't know if he'll single-handedly change it, but I think he definitely could hopefully kind of nudge them in the right direction. But this team is mentally and physically weak. It's just painful. Stanley says, too late for trades. Crash out and show Fitz the door. He should not have the privilege of making even one more roster decision. Get him out. That's definitely not going to happen. Trevor, so many players invisible tonight, most notably Nico and Timo. Where has Cotter been? I don't know what game you were watching if you thought Timo was invisible. He definitely was not invisible. Nico, to some extent. Cotter not getting a lot of ice time. Buried in the lineup, he got 11 minutes. The only one who got less ice time for the forwards than Cotter was Dowling and Nate Bastian. Saw less than Cotter's 11 minutes. He's probably demoralized. Max, I mean, like, how can we expect to go anywhere in the playoffs when we have 2 to 3 AHL caliber players? It's ridiculous. Yeah. Not an ideal roster at the moment. Val, I hate Natchez was delighted when the Canes traded him out of the conference. Of course, I'd love him on our team. Of course. But I want some dogs. Some real dogs. Jeff, yep, too many misses in his short draft history. Well, the draft history of the team going back like nearly 30 years is pretty sad when you look at it. BC, Jack is the best player on the team. Luke stinks at defense, but is protected by Jack. Nico is MIA. Timo, Bratt, Palat are invisible. Mercer's ass in the bottom six are like department store dummies. Wow. Vic, I hope Fitz doesn't make a panic trade that we will regret soon. Yo Home says Nemitz will be a solid player. Trevor, somebody on this team needs to be the motor, set the pace, make some hits, piss somebody off, and get the team riled up. Sounds like you're describing Brady Tkachuk, which is why I wanted him so desperately. Woodson, you aren't going to hit on every first round pick, but you should hit on more than we do. Of course. The record is it's painful, which is why I'm all about trading them. GJ Zito, it's not the coach. Fitz created this team. It's the culture. This reminds me of the years we got the team from Colorado. They sucked, but then the late 88 team and 90s to 2007, the pride is gone. All right, let me skip forward a little bit. I fell behind. Traveling Devil, not sure why they even have Mac at this point. They gave up on him. I think that's more of a Sheldon Keefe thing. It is interesting. Jack says locker room and cultural issues. Nico C needs to be questioned. I don't think that'll ever happen either. And I don't think he's the problem. I just think overall, I just don't know. We're just in this weird kind of state. Max says on the playoffs thing, Caps got swept last year. Look at them now. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not going to happen to every team, but the experience is valuable, especially for young guys. And I will always take making the playoffs over not, no matter what. Jack says if Fitz was serious, help would have been brought in a month ago. I mean, maybe. Woodson, 3 to 5 million available at the deadline isn't much to work with. Yeah, unless you send out some substantial salary the other way. And I guess, if you're being realistic, what is the most likely? I'd have to believe it is Mercer. If any sort of salary is going to be sent out, it would probably be him. I don't think they trade him, but I think that's like the only guy that potentially could be traded out that makes any sort of real money to free up cap space. Jay Snow, I'd rather sell than get bounced in 5 games in round 1. Couldn't disagree more. I'd rather get bounced than the 5 games. Woodson says, don't use the word sell, Jay Snow. It's the number 1 bannable word in the chat. There's no bannable words, but I can't get on board with that. There's something to be said for making the playoffs and the experience that these young guys will get in that. Trevor says, we don't make the playoffs if we don't make a move now. This lineup needs a shakeup. GJ Zito, do we have a good scouting organization? Have we drafted well? I don't see any numbers close to being hung in the rafters. Not even, no. I mean, obviously, if Jack stays in New Jersey his whole career, he's the most likely next jersey number to be retired. And before him, I guess the last guy that I thought, if he stuck around, would have had his jersey retired was Zach Parise. Outside of that, there was really no other guys that whole stretch that you thought were even going to be in the running. And I suppose if Bratter and Nico stick around, they could potentially be in that conversation as well. But it's just so early, and we're so far away from that. Of course, Woodson says I'm 100% selling. Joe Mama, NJ can't draft for shit. They need proven guys, which is why I always say I am open for business with first round picks. I would trade all of them outside of when you win the lottery, and have a high first round pick. Outside of that, because of how many misses we've had, I will always trade the first round pick in a deal for a known player. And then, you know what you're getting versus gambling on guys and missing like we have been a lot. Tooth. Ace, I was at this game and Kermit was out on the ice for warm-ups. They left behind heavier, edgier, more violent, and lost because of it. No heart tonight. I've talked about him. You guys know how I feel about him. People are like, oh, he can't score and he can't do all this. There's something more than what he actually does in terms of, his play. He does have some sort of effect on the team, I do believe. Now, am I saying having him in the lineup is going to, move heaven and earth and all of a sudden we're going to be this great team? No. But I do think he should play way more than he does. And I do think, again, that he brings an element to the team that we don't have when he's not playing. Chico. And what was mostly a 1-goal game, the fact that he even get 10 minutes of ice time is insane. Casey, yeah. Wild. GJ Zito, Keefe has more resources in Toronto. I'm surprised the Devils went in that direction. I think, who else really was there? Trevor, why can't Jack score on a breakaway? I can't remember the last time he scored on a breakaway. Hey, he's not great on breakaways. SST, it's all happening because Erica got the boot. Justin, Ace, you say you remember the old dynasty. Remember how they won, scored when it mattered because we owned the game. Yeah, and we had clutch guys. Look no further than the highest example of it that I could recall offhand right now is, the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7 in 2000. Patrick Elias scores with about 2 minutes left in a tie game to deafen a Philly crowd, punches our ticket to the Cup Finals. And then in 2003, same thing, a couple minutes left, whatever it was, late in that Ottawa game, Game 7 on the road. Both these games are on the road, by the way. Game 7 in Philly to get to the Cup Finals in a Game 7. And then Game 7 against Ottawa in 2003, Jeff Friesen scores. Two of the biggest goals in franchise history to get us to the Cup Finals in those years, in years that we would subsequently win the Cup. Clutch goals, big-time players. It's a whole new world now. Max is hiding Cotter on the fourth line is not the way. I agree with that as well. I just think there's a lot of, puzzle piece shifting, and somehow he ends up getting the short end of the stick and ending up on the fourth line. I think with the way he plays, Cotter's got to be on at least the third line. Chico says, honestly, tonight I have no complaints about the core. Jack, Nico, and Jesper were all good these last couple games. Woodson says, Nemitz or Casey, 10 minutes a game. Luke gets 26 minutes a game. Jack, privilege. Jack, I tell Timo to loss to get some bottom six guys. Jack, Bratt, and Nico already do what Timo can. Jack, I don't know what game you're watching, Jack. Timo does things that the other three guys cannot. They absolutely cannot. Vic, I'm sick of Timo being on the left wing as well. He needs to be on the right wing in power play 1. Talked about this going back to last season. We saw it under Travis Green, and he thrived. For some reason, he's back on the left, not getting power play 1. It's maddening, and I'm tired of talking about it. I don't know, what else there is to say. Max says, besides the goals and finishing, Timo has been so good. Don't explain it to the people that don't get it, man. Allison, this team is such a drag to watch. Also, when was the last time anyone scored on a breakaway? I think the last time someone scored on a breakaway was, I don't even know, probably in 2024. Chico, Ace, I'm sorry, he does a lot, but he's the highest paid player in the team right now, and he has 1 goal in almost 20 games. He just has not been good enough. I agree, but that there's a sea of difference between hasn't been good enough and is the worst player ever, and we need to get rid of him at all costs. I mean, there's a huge difference there. And the people, that just look at stats like, oh, he's terrible and blah, 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 but he's doing things almost every game that other guys are not going to be able to do. He does drive play. He smashes guys sometimes. He's a heavy, heavy guy that we don't have many of. And if you can't watch it and see it for yourself, then I can't explain it to you. Just continue to say that he sucks then because of the points. I get it. I get the root of the frustration, but there is more to the story than just the stat sheet. Yo Home says, I get people who diss Timo, but Timo does a lot. Jack, again, I'm rooting like hell for Timo. I love the guy. He's heavy and edgier, but he's paid to put the puck in the net. He's not doing that. Whatever the reason is, it's an issue. I agree. Stanley says, Ace, they're going to miss. This is a poorly built team with no motor. It's over. I don't think it's over, but my overall outlook has become quite grim. Nemitz for McCann is a bit much. I didn't say 1 for 1, but in a deal to get him, not necessarily 1 for 1. Jack says Nemitz and Mercer for McCann and Tanev in a pick. I would like something like that. Vic says if we're trading Nemitz, I'd like a bit more. It's not 2024 anymore, Vic. You gotta adjust with the market. Yo, Holmes, Jack Hughes needs a personal face-off and breakaway optimization coach. I think he's a guy that would really benefit from working with Adam Oates. I've talked about Adam Oates a bunch of times on different lives and things, but Adam Oates is like a hockey wizard god. And I think Jack working with him could really help his game. Jack says Timo will turn on later in the year when games don't matter. Chico, I've heard the Blues are willing to deal Kyrou. I would definitely take him. Yeah, that won't be cheap. I would love who wouldn't like Kyrou? But that's going to be an asset expensive situation. Yo, Holmes, Nelson and Palmieri for Nemitz in a third. Nah, those guys are too old. I'm not dealing Nemitz in that deal, Yo, Holmes. I'm getting a younger guy than that. Yeah. And they're both pending UFAs, aren't they? Yeah, Brock Nelson's a 33-year-old pending UFA. And Palmieri's a 34-year-old. I'm out on that deal, Yo, Holmes. I want younger guys with some term. That's why McCann kind of fits the bill for me. Justin T, answer this. Why the push for Quinn to come here? The push from who? It's mostly fans that are like, oh, all three Hughes brothers. Like, personally, I think that money would be spent elsewhere. Spent better elsewhere. I'm not like dying for Quinn to come to this team. Would it kind of be cool? I guess. But we have way more pressing needs than an offensive defenseman, in my opinion. Trevor, if we can make the playoffs, this team does have some dogs. We can make some noise. We'd love to see Cotter's game in the playoffs. Yeah, but I'm not convinced they could just flip the switch anymore. Again, just too inconsistent. I hope they do get in the playoffs and it somehow revitalizes them. But BC, McCann or Frederick aren't fixing this clogged toilet bowl of a team. The team's issues are much bigger than that. Potentially. Other teams have more dogs than us? Absolutely. The only real dogs we have are the guys that we got this past summer. Dimitri, after the Nashville game, why not give Dawes another start? Allen kept him in the game until the team fell apart in the third. I'm hoping we see Dawes again soon. And really, hopefully we see Jacob Markstrom back soon. But until then, I would definitely give Dawes a couple more games when possible. Dimitri, Jake Allen lost sight of the puck too often. As for the Devils, I think many players can opt out of after game shower. Can't say the makeup of the lines was great either. Yeah, it's on that was that the second goal. The second goal, I think the rebound was sitting in front of Allen. He had no idea where it was, and Kovacevic was a little slow to respond, and right in the back of the net. You can't allow a guy like that to sit there. That was Nate's first power play goal. That rebound just sat there. He buried it. Trevor, need to shake up the lineup. The line combos aren't working for the most part. Not a lot's working right now for the offense. The forward group is in trouble, and that's why I'm hoping we get help, but I don't know what's going to happen. Ace, thanks for the R. Therapy session. Yeah, anytime, Trevor. I'm just depressed like you guys, but cheers. Cheers for all you staying up late if you're on the East Coast. It's 1:35 New Jersey time. And we saw another Devil stinker tonight. Brandon, I don't think anyone is saying anything in the locker room. Everyone goes home and comes to practice like nothing happened. And that's been my biggest fear for a while. During the dynasty years, there was a nice mix of young guys and veterans, and you know that wasn't happening on some of those old New Jersey Devils teams. There was plenty of vocal and, on ice leaders that were always going to say their piece and address the team when things weren't going well. I would love to be a fly on the wall, behind closed doors to see what's being said and discussed amongst this group while we continually just struggle. Bubba Hockey, everyone's saying I'd rather miss the playoffs than getting knocked out in the first round is delusional. For 20 years, the playoffs were automatic. Making the postseason should be the bare minimum. Welcome to the club, Bubba. Welcome to the club, Bubba. During the Lou years, the playoffs was a birthright. We went into the season, we are making the playoffs. Now can we win a cup? Or how far are we going to get? To have this loser mentality of, let's game the system and tank for better picks, and that's going to make us better in the future. That's all cutesy modern day bullshit that I will never buy. Ever. Ever, ever. Playoffs or die. Yo, Holmes, I am torn. I do not believe in Fitz or Keefe. Limping into the playoffs and getting smoked just gives the regime, I don't believe, more time. I don't know about that. But again, I can't be concerned with that. I'm not trying to, I need to see the team make the playoffs every year. And if it plays out that it gets them more time, then so be it. Do I think that they would be deserving of more time? Probably not, but I wouldn't want to miss the playoffs just to ensure that doesn't happen. I think that's crazy. Stanley, there's no point being annoyed about the season anymore. The writing has been on the wall for 2 months now. The organization needs a restart and fresh eyes overseeing the roster. It's possible we get there. I'm not there yet, but I'm very anxious to see what happens before the deadline. Justin says, but when you saw Parisi, you saw it. Trevor, this team needs a shit stirrer, someone that could rile the team up. I thought Cotter was that guy, but he's invisible in the most nights. I think he's demoralized that they got him, buried on the fourth line. I think the more minutes he plays, the more effective he is in that role. But he's a depth guy. You need really a top six guy that's able to do it. And again, you're explaining Brady Tkachuk, and the Devils aren't getting him. I've given up that dream, but all the things that you're saying here is exactly what, and he could score, obviously, is why I thought the Devils, he would have been the perfect guy for the Devils and the type of guy that we desperately need. But, I don't know who would a poor man's version of him that could be available, but he, those are the reasons why he's my favorite non-Devils player in the league. Tooth, I met Dano tonight and he exceeded expectations of how cool a man could be. Signed my hat, got a photo, and showed off his ring. What a beauty. Shout out to Mr. Devil. Kenny Danico, nicest guy ever. And yeah, he always exceeds expectations. He is the greatest ambassador of New Jersey Devils hockey in the history of New Jersey Devils hockey, literally, for nearly the entire franchise existence. This man has been with the team. GJ Zito, again, they should fire the scouting department. It's non-existent. BC, Nelson and Palmieri would love it here. Could chill out on the bench or skate around and do barely anything like 3/4 of the rest of the team and cash a nice paycheck in a country club atmosphere. Man. Woodson says no to bringing former aging New Jersey Devils players back. I'm back. I'm with that. Yo, Holmes, clutch guys like Neil Broughton. Trevor, need to offload Nemitz now before this comes a Holt situation. And that's why I'm just like, get what you can for him now. I'm also squeamish that, the longer this plays out, his value will be diminished already. Evan, what is the team's biggest flaw? Not scoring enough, being physical all-around performance? I would say the biggest flaw is obviously not scoring enough, but they're just mentally and physically weak. And when teams ratchet up the intensity, we fold like a cheap tent. We don't have enough dogs, and we need one. I would love to see one in the top 6, but yeah, it's right now. It's not a great roster, and we're easily bullied. Yo, Holmes, clutch guys like Randy McKay. Shout out to Randy, the legend. John Woodson, Nemitz is already Holtz 2.0. You already think it's that bad? I don't think it's there yet. Yo, Holmes, Nemitz is 20 and will be a quality player eventually, just not today. I'm cashing in that value. Cashing it in. David Chimes, here late, I'm still a believer, but have to ask if you saw anything good this game. Looked like we didn't want it. No, not much. Not much at all, honestly. Despite everyone bagging on Timo, I thought he was one of the better forwards, but he's snake-bitten beyond belief and can't finish for anything right now. GJ Zito, Larry Robinson went apeshit on the team. They were down, and it shocked that because Larry was not that guy. Funny you mentioned that, GJ. Next week, I'm going to have an interview coming out with Jay Pandolfo. And he touches on this exact moment in time of Devils history. So keep an eye peeled for that. The Jay Pandolfo interview, we'll touch on this briefly. Trevor, we need a Pepe Lemieux. Oh, boy. They don't make them like that anymore either. Clutch guys like Pepe. Can we trade Timo for Ovechkin? I don't think so. Trevor would like to see Cotter play on the top line with Jack and Bratt. I've talked about that going back months. I'd like to see it for more than just a couple shifts. Like, just give it a whole game and let's see. Yo, Holmes, NJ needs to hire Alex Mogilny as the breakaway coach. BC, here's what will happen. Fitz will panic next week and send Nemitz to Montreal for Evans, and Nemitz will mature into a great defenseman playing with his buddy Slavkovsky for the next 10 years. There's zero chance. I'm nearly certain there is zero chance that Fitz trades Nemitz for Evans. That would be terrible. Roman says, when has Timo ever brought us into a game through physicality? I mean, I don't know what you really mean by that. In tons of these games where things get rough, he's the only guy still able to generate anything that remotely resembles a scoring chance. Yo Holmes says, Roman, lots of times. Jack McCabe, John Madden's son got traded to the Wild tonight. Damn, that's another thing that made me feel really old. He's already 25. Wow. Going to play under Billy Guerin in Minnesota. Jason, the problem is Timo's our best player in these tight, heavy games, and he also creates the most high dangers because he can't get to the middle easy. He can get to the middle easy, just can't finish right now. It's super frustrating. Yeah. Alexander the Greg, I wonder if they are playing to get a wild card spot to have a better road matchup than the Canes. Absolutely not. They're trying to win every game. They're not trying to fall into a wild card for a more favorable matchup. All that stuff is just nonsensical. Yo, Holmes, Adam Oates is my boy. Old school friend of mine, real solid dude. That's awesome. I love Adam Oates. I was pumped when he joined our coaching staff. Yeah, I think he's like a hockey wizard. I think Jack and maybe some of our other players should spend some time with him in the offseason. He was a guy that I mentioned that I was hoping we would call and beg to try to get as the head coach before we hired Keefe. But he has his own little private practice situation going on, I think, where he's probably doing very well financially and doesn't have to travel as much, and it's probably a perfect setup for him. Jay Snow, if Jack could put on some size, he could take his game to another level. Yeah, we've been talking about this for years too. I mean, I hope we eventually see it. I really do, because he is pretty fragile. But Vic, just to clarify, I love Timo and I want him to thrive in NJ. He brings a lot to this team and does what other players can't. However, I'd like him to score more. We all want him to score more, man. We all definitely want him to score more. Trevor, I hate to say it, but it's looking like we might need another year of marination before we are truly ready to make a run. Yeah, probably. SJ Timo clearly needs to be on the right wing, like San Jose. I've said this time and time again as well. He needs to be on the right wing. On power play 1. Yo, Holmes, marination of what? Chico, I do like Timo Meier, but it's getting to a point where I have to wonder if he's a stylistic fit for this team. Well, if we didn't have him, again, some of these games would be much uglier. Brandon, whoever keeps the idea of keeping Timo on the left wing needs to be gone from this organization. I really would love to know the root of it all. Justin, I don't care what they trade for. This team needs more grit with finishing ability. Amen to that, brother. SJ, I think Ovi plays off wing as well as some players like having the puck in the middle, I guess. Yeah, but the proof is we saw what he did last year under Green when he was moved to the right side and what his whole career in San Jose was. So why would you think to consistently keep playing him on his offside? It is mind-boggling. Like, just do it for one game and see what you think, and then see if he can convince you. Not that he should have to at this juncture with all of the evidence that's already out there, but, see what he looks like on the right. Trevor, if we can make the dance, we do have a few guys whose game is made for the playoffs. Yeah, absolutely. Cotter and Nason are two of the guys I would love to see in the playoffs. Damian, hey, Ace, can I get a shout-out? My college team, TCNJ, is playing our first-round game of the playoffs in North Carolina on Thursday. Going to need all the luck we can get. Let's go Devils. Shout-out to you, Damian. Shout-out to the TCNJ. I don't know the let me see. I should know. What is the what the hell do they call it? I guess mascot or team name? Let's see. And they don't even make it easy. Is it the Lions? I knew that. I had a friend in college that went to TCNJ. Shout out to Damian and the TCNJ Lions. Hopefully you boys get it done in North Carolina on Thursday and move on to the next game or round, whatever it is. I don't know how that works at that level, but good luck to you, and hopefully you guys get that dub. Jay Snow, the Lou years are long gone. The Lou years feel like an eternity ago. It feels like we're talking about like the prehistoric dinosaur times. It's such a shame. SJ, Nace the Junkyard Dog seems to only care maybe Cotter. To some extent. Brandon, there's just a lack of everything. No attempt to move Timo on the right wing on a struggling offense. No moves being made yet. Benching Casey, one of the only players that can score. Just shit decision after shit decision. Man, you guys are fired up tonight. I'm fired up too. I'm just so pissed. Yo, Holmes, I was there when Parisi told Oates he was thinking of leaving, and Oates told him to go. Oates took the Washington job right after. Is that true? Why did he tell him to leave? Woodson, farm is currently empty. How else do you replenish the minors if we burn every draft pick trying to win one playoff round? Well, I'm not saying to burn it to win one playoff round. Bring in pieces that have term, not just pure rentals. And we have a couple guys. I mean, listen, Cam Squires is still super young. I believe that you don't believe in Gritsuk or Hami Naho, but those are guys that could potentially fill a bottom six role in the next couple of years. Justin T, I want to make playoffs next year for cup building, new leadership, GM level. Evan, we need a bigger body and a sniper, maybe someone who can create scoring chances. Depth is key. Can we get Jay Pandolfo as head coach? That would be interesting one day. I'd love to see Pando back in the organization. And I do believe he was one of the guys interviewed by Fitz before he hired Keefe. If you own the Devils and Fitz walks into your office with the Nemitz for Evans trade, you fire him on the spot. Yeah, I mean, I just can't see Fitz doing that. I think that would be lunacy. My buddy Goody, I'm down with the mantra of heavier, edgier, more violent, but don't you think maybe Fitz turned the dial a little bit too much in that direction? The 22-23 team was not nearly as physical, and they were a better team. There's a lot of reasons for that, but this team is still nowhere near physical enough. So, no, I don't think he turned the dial too much in that direction. In fact, I think he underestimated how much of that element we really needed, because we're still light years away from other teams in that department that would just absolutely shit kick us and punch us in the mouth in a playoff series. And so I'm sitting here now at the deadline hoping he adds more of that element, because Cotter, Nason, Kovacevic, and Dylan alone is not enough. They're literally the only guys on the roster, and Timo to some extent. We need more of that. And it's crazy to think about, but here we are. Husky and Shane Cotter between Timo and Nason. Yeah, I've a couple weeks ago as well, when things were getting shifted with injuries and stuff, I had wondered if we would see Cotter tried out at center at all. And it doesn't seem like, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like something that they really want to do. We've seen Mercer at center, I believe, a couple weeks ago. But I would try Cotter there. I mean, why not? Cotter, Hughes, Bratt, I would look at. There's worth trying everything now. Yo, Holmes, Oates isn't just a legend as a player. He was also the first unrestricted free agent to sign in the NHL for $1 million. Very nice. Trevor, Brady and Quinn are buds. Prediction, we get Brady and Quinn. How cool would that be? Never happening. Never happening. The salary cap would need to double before that to happen. These are going to be all guys making well over $10 million. You can't have 8 guys all making damn near $10 million. The math just doesn't work out. Max, Ace, hope you had a great time up here in Boston. Hope that snow ice storm wasn't too bad for you. What night was that? I'm trying to think back. I think it was Saturday. The Saturday night was brutal. I came out of the BU game to like a friggin' blizzard. Wild stuff. And then outside of that, it wasn't too bad other than the cold. It was just brick cold with that whipping wind. Whew. I was planning on getting my steps up and walking around a lot, but it didn't happen too much because the weather, the cold was just brutal. I was jumping in Ubers left and right. Vic, I'd love to see a Bratt Jack Timo line, a line where everyone will be playing their natural positions. I'd be curious to see that. Sergeant Buckcake, I felt like going into this game, you could tell the team was going to lose. Seeing no change in the lines was what made me feel like there was no hope. Just don't look good enough on paper even. Yeah, but sometimes you never know until you see it out there on the ice. Jack says the problem with that, Vic, is that it makes sense. Damian, we have to play Thursday, and if we win, we play the next day until the championship on Sunday. Very nice, man. Bring home the title. Chico, it just feels like this team will never be ready. Like it feels we went through a decade-long rebuild, and they're still not constantly good. My fear is that we're going to wake up as the Sabres. It's my biggest fear that I've talked about forever. Cores age quickly. Go ask Zach Parise and Zajac and even Severson to some extent. Years go by quick. Years go by insanely quick. Guys, this is year 8 for nicohischier. When is it going to resonate? When is it going to get through your heads? Constantly talking about the future and kicking the can down the road is bullshit. Win now or win never. This is year 8, guys. Nicohischier, year 8. The poor guys played in the playoffs twice. Once we got dragged there by Taylor Hall in his rookie season. Taylor Hall dragged us there before we got dusted by the Lightning. And then the 22-23 season. Other than that, he's been part of a losing culture year after year. Max, why can't we just always find a jesperbratt quality player in the 6th round every year? It's so frustrating. Drafting is so hard. Plus, play from other leagues usually never translates into the NHL. Yeah. If only were that easy to get late round steals. But it's not. It'd be nice to get them, a little more frequently than we have. But it's a crapshoot. We can't even hit on 1st round picks. And you're wanting us to find 6th round gems. Sergeant Buckkick says, I think Allen looked horrible, very loose. I don't think he looked bad till the end when the team gave up on him. I mean, he kept us in the game. We could have been crushed. We could have been down 3-0 pretty early. Yo home Zach was just getting married. He didn't want to live in Hoboken. Took the big money to go home and raise a family. Oates gave good advice. Evan, Devils are an easy team to adjust to. Take away Jack and they will win. Need more threats on offense on the ice at the same time. Max, do you think a Line A and Evans package is possible? Get both needs done at the same time. Oof. I wanted to gamble on Line A in the summer whenever it was last year when people were talking about it. I said I was willing to take a gamble on Line A, and a lot of people told me I was nuts. He's got what? He's got 2 years left at 8.7. It's a lot of money. But I've always liked Line A and thought in the right situation he could thrive. He's got 14 goals and 8 assists for 22 points in 30 games this year. He must have been hurt for a good chunk of the season. It's an interesting one. Chico, I think Fitz made smart physical bets, namely Nason and Cotter. If he can pick up like 2 clones of them, this team will be in a better spot. Yeah, but from where and for what price? I do agree. SJ, need another center better than Hall that can actually produce to help Nico and Jack. Sergeant Buckkick, not enough firepower. Hughes and Bratt works, but Nico can't carry a line and no one else is good. Meier, show up, buddy. Mercer, I remember watching his rookie highlights like, we got a guy. Brandon, I'm surprised there is as much hate for Hall. I think he's good for a fourth liner. Probably best face-off person on the team other than Nico. I think it's just because when you don't score a point for 3 months, people are just going to lose their minds. And that is pretty sad, but Trevor, let's do what we did a few years back with Gusev, but with Brady. The fan base willed the management to get him. I don't think it's going to happen. Need a third line center for sure. Richard, I'm so disappointed. Ace Unreal. Yeah, man, it's a brutal one. You were there, man. My heart goes out to you. You witnessed the stinker live. I've witnessed tons of them. Chico, I just remember when the Sabres traded Eichel, and in that moment, I was like, if the Devils get to the point where they're trading Jackhughes, I don't know if I could continue watching. I think we're a long ways away from that. Nemitz and Mercer for McDavid and Draisaitl, that would help a bit. Yeah, I think it would. Chico, that doesn't feel like it's so unrealistic anymore, especially if we miss the playoffs. They're so far away from even dreaming of trading Jackhughes. It's just not going to happen. Allison, I'm so confused by what happened to Mercer and Hall. Both were great complimentary players, and now they're just awful. The team is struggling as a whole. It's real bad. Jack, I'm taking calls on anyone in the organization. If the price is right, no one is immovable. Well, you know they're not trading. They're definitely not trading either Hughes. And I'm fairly certain they would not trade Nico or Timo. So, yo, Holmes, they gave Nico the C without earning it. Nico is great, but he's not Mel Bridgman. Yo, Holmes, the fact NJ could potentially ditch Mercer is brutal. Jack McCabe, give Dylan the C, Nason and Cotter the A's. Guys with sack who give a shit, who play loud and are vets and who have played a while. I talked about during the last live. I think people kind of put a lot of stock into the letters. Like, guys don't need a letter on their jersey to lead. Dano didn't have a letter on his jersey for the overwhelming majority of his career outside of, I think, like, it was either a season or whatever it was when he had the A. But he was always considered a leader of the team, and he never had a letter outside of that very brief time. Red Devil Jack really needs to bulk up a little this summer and make hits and aggression more a part of his game. Four Nations really exposed his deficiencies compared to guys like Eichel and the Kachucks. We need grit and crash the net, says Dimitri. Salvador. Nico can excel offensively, but when we only have two lines that are good, with Jack lines being offensive-minded, Nico's line needs to take the lead in the D zone with matchups. Yeah, we need him to take those faceoffs. Stefan, I see everyone ask for more physical guys, and while I get that, it's obvious that since they try overcompensating for physicality, they lost the identity that made them dangerous. I don't think we're trying to overcompensate for physicality because we still have not nearly enough guys that play physical, and we get bullied still. It's a shame, but it is the reality. We still have a lot of finesse in the lineup, obviously. And all of the core guys are still here from that 22-23 team. It's just teams adapted to the Devils, figured out how to kind of shut them down, and we haven't adapted to those teams' adaptions. It's like a constant evolution, and we kind of just stopped evolving when the teams figured us out on a lot of nights. Salvatore, remember when this team used to be fun to watch? Shit was just sad. Derek, some people in the chat seem very quick to turn on Nico. Didn't he just have a 3-point night? I'll never turn on Nico. He's so solid. Jack, Ace, real quick, if the Devils miss the playoffs, does Fitz go? Also in that scenario, is anyone in particular movable? I mean, if the Devils miss the playoffs, Fitz must go. Now, will the owners do that? I have no idea. At this juncture, I wouldn't be shocked if he was still safe. But in my opinion, if they miss the playoffs, he 1,000% needs to be dismissed. I mean, to have the season we did in 22-23 and then to follow it up with miss, in my opinion, it'd be an inexcusable sin, one that you get the death sentence for and lose your job. Now, again, I would not be surprised if he didn't. But in my world, you're donezo. Night, Walking Dead, man. Sergeant Buckkick, shout out to you, Ace, for reading comments. Yeah, I'm always reading comments, man. I always try my best. On some nights, the chat flies way quicker than I could keep up with it, but I try my best. But thanks for coming out with us on this late night. Max, I don't think Jack has the frame to get 15 pounds of muscle. I can't believe it. I think he could put on 15 pounds. We're not asking him to put on 40. 15 pounds is not crazy. Salvatore, Jack needs to train with Brad. Brad is so strong on his skates and it's hard to knock off the puck. Meanwhile, Jack trips over the blue line. Yeah. Bradder's got some thick legs, a thicker lower body to kind of, stay upright and push. Yo, Holmes, no one is challenging the team to play with mucho cojones. This is a mucho no bueno bros. I agree with that too. The team is full of wet noodles. Evan, the physicality should open up opportunities for skill players. We don't know how to do that at a top level. Salvatore, if you're Fitz, do you make a call to Florida about Bennett? I would love Bennett. I just don't see it happening. And I think he's going to want a ton of money on his next contract that we probably can't afford. I mean, I'd kick the tires on it. He's 28, so if you could get him with an extension or with kind of some sort of preliminary understanding of what he's going to be looking for, he fits the age window of what I'm looking for sure. I would like him a lot. We've seen what the team is without Nico. Nico is the soul of the team. Yeah, we looked lost when he was injured. Max, owner's management too focused on drowning the 76ers and the recent success of the Commanders to care about the Devils. Who knows? I wish we had a passionate owner like John McMullen, the first owner, and Jeff Vanderbeek were. Evan, all finesse, no physicalness. It's very disappointing, but coming in did not like this setup. Colorado had lost 2 out of 4 nations. First game back at home in Nicohischier, back. Tough one. Let's get Utah. The setup, the writing was kind of on the wall for the Avalanche to have a bounce-back game, right? Trevor, is coaching our issue? The D is solid. The goaltending is solid. Forward should be good enough with the right coaching. I don't think coaching is the issue. I think the roster and the players the issue, Trevor. Our bottom 6, quite frankly, is not good enough, period. And so now when Keefe has to kind of try to find and the elephant in the room is obviously that we really did need a legitimate top 6 guy coming into the season. So now people are expecting Sheldon Keefe to pull magic tricks, and he can only do what he can with the roster he has. The cards that he's dealt at the moment are less than ideal, and he's trying to shuffle shit around to try to figure out how to get the most out of the group. But in the end, the bottom 6 has been brutal. And dealing with, again, a guy like Palat that you have forced into a top 6 role that doesn't belong there. It's all a recipe for disaster. And then the team being what I believe in, mentally weak to some extent. So I do think Keefe is trying what he can, but right now the roster needs help. And unless he gets it, we're going to see a lot of, questionable things, I think, down the stretch of the season. Justin, if you can move Holla to the 4th line, you got a team. I do think he'd be way more suited for a 4th line role, obviously. Chico, the problem isn't right now isn't physicality in either direction. It's that too many players in the team right now are just not good enough. Holla, Palat, Tatar, Dowling all have to go. Red Devil, if Jack is going to be our finesse guy and isn't going to play with any aggression, we need some more Timo-like guys. He's nasty to play against, guys that will keep guys like Jack from getting bullied. Yeah, but we just don't have enough. Don't have enough. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Lazar. Back to when you said move Holla to the 4th line, because I do believe he was the 4th line center today. Yeah, how that whole bottom 6 plays out. Is Lazar now going to be the odd man out? I don't know. It's just so crazy. Max, I still think Frederick is a perfect fit. It just only fits one need we have. Agreed with that. Yo, Holmes, Keefe and the presser thought we were close. Great. I mean, his press conferences are They are what they are. Dr. John is an American hero. Josh Harris, not so much. Keefe is starting to steer me the wrong way in the post games. I've kind of just let it go, but I would like to see some more, fire and I don't know, anger in the post game when we lose these bad games and you watch it and you're like, does this guy even care that we're losing? Chico, ironically enough, Keefe is in the same situation he was in with the Leafs. He's got to try and get magic beans out of rocks. Yeah. Imagine if we did not have Keefe in this situation, the team would not be in a playoff spot. That's very well possible as well. We could be doing worse. We quite frankly, with the roster we have up front, we could be overachieving right now, which is scary. Yo, Holmes, Hall was on the fourth line today. Evan, the game just continues to show our ups and downs, no consistency, but I liked our second period. We need boost to get more scoring. Utah game is huge, and please get McDermott back in there. The Utah game is massive. Massive. Every game is massive, but what a gutting loss tonight. And I would like to see McDermott back as well, but I've given up hope on that as well. It just seems like he's been written out of the script, if you will. Trevor, we can't wait any longer. Time to do something, make some trades. Let's go Devils. Richard, one fight, just one would have turned this game around. I'm telling you, little more aggression. Maybe. Bubba Hockey, this team has an inability to adapt its offensive game beyond the rush. That's the big issue. So sustained zone time or puck possession, it's all run and gun. That's pretty easy to shut down. Max, team and coach are robots. No emotion on or off the ice. And I agree. And it's kind of demoralizing to watch. You're like, someone just show some heart somewhere. Please show something. Good morning, Philip Kelly. Yeah, we're in the wee hours. Yo, Holmes, nobody wants to trade for Tatar, Bastion, Hall, Lazar, McDermott. I agree. You're not trading them for anything. Chico, overachieving with their scoring woes. Imagine how bad the record would be if they didn't have a good systemic defense most nights. People are blaming Keefe, but he's doing all he can. Evan McCann is a target I really like. Fitz needs to be able to see boost is needed. Sometimes injection of something new has a huge effect. I agree with you there as well. I talked about McCann a couple times earlier. If he's available for something that's not too crazy, I think that's a good move. And what I like the most about it is it's a piece that helps you beyond just this season. He has 2 more years left on his deal. He's 28 years old. He could be a good piece moving forward to really help this team, but we need some life. And right now we're looking pretty lifeless, and these games are just going to get bigger and bigger. Bigger and bigger as the schedule continues to roll on. Games come off the schedule there. And we're now at what? I think there's 22 left. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was game. Yeah, 22 games left. It's crazy. It's so crazy. It seemed like just yesterday it was the summertime. 22 games left to claw into the playoffs. Hold on to a spot with just the wild card situation is crazy. The Rangers just 2 points out now. 2 points out of a wild card spot. Columbus 6 points behind us, but with 2 games in hand. Yeah. It's really crazy. It's definitely possible that I don't want to think about it. That Columbus or the Rangers take our spot for third in the Metro, and then whatever, either Columbus or the Rangers take that second wild card spot, or potentially even first. But Columbus and the Rangers, you got to look out for them. One could be climbing into the top 3 in the Metro, and one could be claiming a wild card spot. Ottawa's in trouble as well. Man, they're right in the dogfight too. Yeah, this could be one of the crazier years in terms of wild card finishes. The Penguins look like they're all but dead. Sabres are done. That's really it, though. I mean, and the Islanders are close to being done, but even, 57 points in 57 games. They're most likely done. It's just a lot of teams in front of them they'd have to catch. Flyers, yeah, it's crazy. What a wild card. Boston just right there, too. 59 games, 62 points. Yeah, it's crazy. 1, 2. Yeah, Columbus 64 points, and then Rangers, Sens, Bruins all with 62. Whew. Man, if the Senators don't make it, the Brady Kachuk chatter to go somewhere is going to be getting louder and louder. And I have to imagine if he does leave Ottawa, it pains me to say it, he's going to end up in Florida with his brother. Max, the most irritating thing is when we run into hot goalies, we know a greasy goal is going to be the only way. We still don't crash the net, no net front presence. It's frustrating. It's infuriating. Evan, the late part of the third was very depressing. Can't do that to Allen. Guys really need to look in the mirror and dig deep. If we can get 3-2 on this trip, that shows the hunger and fight we need. Yo, Holmes, Dr. John McMullen was an American Navy hero who served on the USS Indianapolis. Philip, we are destined to play Toronto, aren't we? I think conventional wisdom says we're destined to play Carolina, but they're struggling mightily now as well. It's just so crazy. Like, why did we have to be struggling so much? Their spot would be there, is there for the taking. And now we're just talking about, can we hang on for a wild card? It's pathetic. Chico, now we have to wait until Saturday for them to give us any hope again, and that's a back-to-back. Man, if there isn't a small trade before the Utah game, I might lose it. I don't think you're going to see a trade until deadline day or the day before. If I had to pick, I would say on deadline day. It was cool. They see that they honored Mac. Justin, team is weak mentally and physically, and the core is the core. You need right co-stars to gel. Trevor, let's figure out this Hall of thing. I love the Hall of Goal celebration song. Man, it's been forever. It's been forever. Rangers and Columbus are both clown shoes organizations. Yeah, they're clown shoes organizations who might be in the playoffs while we're possibly watching from home. Utah, Vegas, Dallas, Winnipeg Devils could realistically go heartbreaking 1-3 if they bring the same effort. I mean, let's be real. With the same effort, they could go 0-4. Philip, can't Fitz give us anything like a conference or anything? You're not going to hear from him until the trade deadline, I'm sure. Ace, Max says, Ace, what's your reaction if we walk away from the deadline empty-handed? If we walk away from the deadline empty-handed, I'd be disgusted. My reaction would be Fitzgerald must go. Only answer to that question, in my opinion. Chico, this is where I'm full on panic mode. They've won 2 games in a row once in the calendar year of 2025, and we're entering March. It's gone on way too long. I agree. Fully agree. Evan, Columbus playing very well. They put up a 6 on Dallas the other night. Columbus, Detroit, let's hope, cannibalize each other. I think we beat Utah, and then what's our response in Vegas going to be? It just sucks. The constant yo-yo. Up and down, win and loss, win and loss. My heart can't take it anymore. Well, at least we will know how good the Devils are. They will play many tough opponents. Rob Wilson, we are destined to miss the playoffs. There's no point in making the playoffs, and this team folds at the first sign of adversity. Not always, but it seems like they don't deal well with adversity, if I'm being real, right? I mean, we get punched in the mouth and we kind of cower in the corner versus come back, with the uppercut. I'm hoping we show more fight down the stretch of the season and hope that they figure out a way to play inspired hockey heading into the playoffs. But it's not great right now. It's just not great right now. I'll shout out to some of my friends. My buddy just texted me and said, tell the people to hit the thumbs up. The likes are bad, he said. Can you guys stop being stingy? I know the Devils, broke our hearts tonight, but you hit the thumbs up for your boy. Who believes in country club Keefe? I don't blame this on him. It's still too early. It's we're call it 3/4 of season 1. He's done some stuff I don't love, but in the end, you're asking for someone to serve a filet mignon steak when they hand you chop meat. I mean, you can't make something if the ingredients aren't there. Philip says, I don't think you can blame Keefe. I agree with that. Max, Vegas will be waiting for us on 2 days rest from our last game. I smell a bad thing coming. I hope you're wrong. Evan, we still have 2 left with Winnipeg. We are going to really see what we can do. One of our really strong games last year was versus Winnipeg at home. If we head back home with 2 more wins on this trip, big. Brandon, I got no faith in Sleepy Fitz. I think he's going to sell more than anything. Well, what do you think he's going to sell? I don't even think we have pieces to sell. Really. There's not much to sell. I don't think we have many pieces that are desirable outside of the guys we wouldn't want to trade. So who would possibly be sold? Trevor, who else is pissed the F off about Blackwood? Here we are struggling to find a goalie while getting goalied by Blackwood. We cast off. We scored 1 goal against him this season. I don't think we're going to struggle to find a goalie. It's unfortunate. He took way too long to develop. They gave him so many chances. He was injured and inconsistent. It's unfortunate. I thought the organization really tried to make that work. A lot of people gave up on Blackwood a season or 2 before we eventually traded him, but he just wasn't putting it together consistently. And, I think we have plenty of kids in the system where one of them will pan out to be the next big-time goalie. And if I had to put my money on one guy, I would say Yegorov. He just looks phenomenal. And I'll be putting out a video. I have some good footage from him at BU. I'll probably put that out in the next day or 2. Yeah, I'm behind on some of the videos I want to put out, so there'll be some stuff coming out. But I got extensive footage of him at BU when I was in Boston for the 4 Nations weekend. He's going to be a beast. Brandon says, I think he's going to sell Allen and Covey. I don't think Allen. Kovacevic I could see happening now. I still hope we keep him, but I could see him being moved. I don't think Allen will be. Before the goal tonight, do you know the last time we scored on Mac Black? And it was the Damon Severson butt puck goal against Toronto. Salvatore Yegorov has been a man possessed at BU. Yes, he has. He definitely has. Red Devil, I'm still scratching my head that this is the same team that stomped the Capitals, Hurricanes, Panthers, and then there was the Christmas break. It's quite a fall from grace. Justin T, I'm going to stop commentating because I love you. Dissent, complimentary comments are recognized. I don't follow. What do you mean, Justin? Evan, Blackwood, for some reason, Bucks up versus us. The San Jose game, we put up close to 50 shots at home. We couldn't get one past him. Sometimes this just happens. Yeah, I mean, he has a chip on his shoulder. And he wants to beat. That's a lot of players want to beat their former teams. And it's no different with Mac Black. I thought midway through the game tonight that we weren't going to get one past him. I thought for sure that he was going to shut us out. It just seemed like one of those nights. Luckily, we got one, but in the end, it means nothing, right? At least we foiled the shutout. But, if I'm getting excited about foiling a shutout, what are we talking about here? This was a game that was there for the taking, and then we just fell apart. Trevor, put McDean and tell him to be the blender. Get these noodles to do something. SJ, former players own the Devils, 100%. We saw it all season long. Boquist got us. Kevin Ball and Blake Coleman in Calgary. It's bad. Who else did some damage? I'm forgetting a bunch. Did Zaka score against us this year? Philip, I don't think it's the goalies. It's just the fact our finishing is one of the worst in the NHL. Our goalies, to me, Markstrom and Jake Allen have been two of our best players the whole season. I wouldn't blame them for anything. They've provided what we all wanted last year. Everyone was saying, just get us average NHL goaltending, and they've been delivering, better than average. But we just can't score goals for them, and as a result, here we are. After a insane stretch of hockey, we are now just trying to hang on to a playoff spot, and it's a very sad reality. I never saw it coming. At Christmas, I was on such a New Jersey Devils induced high. It was unbelievable. Never saw it coming, and that's why it's very gutted. Very gutted. Philip says Pavel scored against us. Yes. Trevor, start Nason and Cotter every game and have them fight off the initial face-off to set the tone like the Kachuk show in the Four Nations. Man, what a game. That was just insane. I was actually watching that on my phone in the Boston University arena. And I was going nuts. And people were looking at me because I guess they realized that they thought I was like reacting to something at the game, but there was nothing going on. And I was just going crazy on my phone watching the Kachuk brothers just hammering off the face-off. Oh, no, I mean the opposition goalie's buffing up. I love our two tender. I got it. I'm a little delirious. It's late. It's late on the East Coast. But I think it's a combination of the goalies rising to the occasion and us just sucking. Yo, Holmes, there was a rumor the organization pressured Mac Black to play while injured. When he did, they told the media Black was a head case. Did they ever really say that, though? Evan, what's up with the breakaways? Other teams finish these. We get stopped way too often on these. We need to finish one of these. It's a punch when they don't finish those chances. Yeah, that Jack one was painful. I don't know. We're just not good on breakaways. Justin, we have not made a trade because we have not much. Yeah, I agree. We don't have much to trade. We have next year's first-round pick. We have some second-round picks this season. And then potentially Nemitz as a piece. Red Devil, bottom six needs changing up. Trades, anything to get some wins. I pray to the hockey gods every night. Mikhail Yegorov ends up being the next Marty Brodeur, plays 20 seasons with the NJ and wins 3 Stanley Cups. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? David, we lose against Utah. I'll start to worry. Not there yet. Oh, David, I was worrying a month ago. SJ says, agree, ace goalies have been the best players for the Devils. Salvatore, Gritsuk, and Yegorov will be our Kucherov and Vasi and lead us to the promised land. That'd be great. Trevor, if we aren't going to do shit this season, please at least finish ahead of the Rags. Yo, Holmes, I feel like every day this team has a chance to win. Mac Black today interview between first and second period. I mean, it's the Colorado Avalanche, guys. They got some weapons. Chico, not to insult anyone, but I think if you're not worried by now, you've got your head in the sand. I agree with that 100%. I mean, it's beyond time to worry. Now I'm actually curious if I could see the date. I want to see the date of when I said it was the video where I put out to hit the panic button. I said the Devils need to hit the panic button now. The video is actually longer than I thought. It was 5 weeks ago, January 20th. January 20th. Yeah, I was hitting the panic button 5 weeks ago because not much has changed since then. And it's all the things I think I mentioned in the video as concerns are now coming to fruition, where the lead is shriveling. Teams are right on our ass. The playoff berth is at risk, and it's all happening. I was panicking 5 weeks ago because I didn't like what I saw with the inconsistency and all the issues. And it is what it is. All right. Patented bathroom break, and we're going to start winding this thing down. Shout out to all you guys for coming out. If you could hit the button for your boy, if you could hit that like, hit that thumbs up, that'd be something nice. I'd appreciate that. My buddy texted me to remind me to tell you guys that because I don't remember it ever. But I'll be back in 2 minutes. Going to go to the bathroom, and then we'll wind this thing down. Throw out your closing comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, whatever it is you got, just throw it out there. But, yeah, this one really stinks. This one really stings. And obviously the West Coast, super late night edition adds to the pain, but I'll be right back. Back in 2 minutes, throw it out there, and we'll wrap this thing up on a painful night. Ah, boy. Chico, I like the effort in the first 2 games back, despite them going 1-1. But tonight, where the one shot in the first half of the third in a 1-goal game. Yeah, they definitely played better in the Dallas game than they did tonight by far. Despite losing that, it wasn't a demoralizing performance like tonight was, where we just gave up at the end and just got crushed. Not good enough, 100%. Stefan, Colorado has speed on every line. That's what this team had in that great playoff year. That's what they gave up to get bigger. I mean, who was really the speed that we're missing? Sharon Govich? I mean, we wouldn't even be able to afford him right now anyway with these guys. Although, as other people pointed out, I think it was Woodson. A good point where if we knew in hindsight that Kovacevic was going to be as good as he turned out to be, that the Brett Pesce signing would not have been necessary, and that could have given us money. But in the end, right now, Sharon Govich has 11 goals and 11 assists for 22 points in 50 games. Not exactly, tearing it up anymore. I mean, he had that season last year, then he got paid, and now he seems like he's kind of falling off. David, Dawes about to pop and wow everyone. I'd love to see it. He looked very solid the other night. Sharon Govich had wheels and Bo as well. Yeah, did Boquist even play a playoff game? I don't even know if he did. Let's see. I don't know why I don't even remember his existence in the playoffs. He played in game 1 against the Rangers, didn't play game 2. Played in game 3. He wasn't getting a ton of ice, obviously. Played in 4. Five he played. Damn, he might be the most. He's only playing 10 minutes a night. I literally don't recall him at all for some reason in the playoffs. It's very interesting. He did not play in game 7 against the Rangers. And then he played 1 game against Carolina. So he was in for some of the playoffs. Evan, you're the best, Ace. Devils forever. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. We need Bobby Carpenter. What? It is what it is. Don't be a jabroni. I'm so confused. Trevor, I hit the thumbs up. Even though the Devils suck, you should do the same. Thanks, Trevor. Hit it for your boy. I'm out here just, drowning my sorrow in Martin Brodeur vodka. Evan, Fitz sold off to Foley. We need to go the other way this time and get help scoring. Selling is not an option. I have faith we need to see move. I'm going to Minnesota game in Minnesota. Let's go. Nice. Where do you live, Evan? Boquist and Wood for one. I do like Wood. I was always a Wood fan. Kevin Kirk. It seems the breaks in the schedule really threw the team off for whatever reason. Of course, Christmas. Then we just seem to get traction. Then the Four Nations break. Now we're where we are. Chico, you don't need to choose, in my opinion. It's late, guys. You don't need to choose, in my opinion, between speed, skill, and toughness. I think Cotter and Nason are proof of that. They're tough skill. The problem isn't toughness one way or the other. It's a skill issue. We just have too many players who cannot play at the moment. This game has changed. Red Devil would love to see NJ scout some talent from the KHL. Lots of great players there, but NJ seems married to mostly Canadian talent, unlike the Caps. Canada hasn't produced great goalies in years. It is crazy how all the dominant goalies back in the day, Marty, Waugh, Cujo, Belfour, it was all Canadians. All Canadians. It was the BMW line. Yeah. We talk about McLeod all the time. That's a massive hit in the bottom six. Terrible. Stefan, would you be willing to give up Timo for Rantanen if they could talk contract extension? No, because I have no interest in Rantanen. He's going to make $13 or $14 million. I have no interest. That money is way better spent elsewhere. And again, Timo is one of our best players on many nights, regardless whether people believe it or not. On many nights, Timo is one of our best forwards and does things that other guys cannot do. I value Timo. I think most people that know what they're looking at value Timo. Outside of, yes, I fully acknowledge he's struggling, and for the money he gets paid and what he's expected to do, he needs to produce more. But I have no interest in getting rid of Timo, and definitely not for Rantanen. Yo, Holmes, does it make it better that it was Blackwood or Wedgwood? Is what better? Trevor, I was waiting for Miles Wood to score while Blackwood shuts us down again. Yeah. Pain and suffering. Mac Black's going to own us. Mac Black is going to own us probably for a while. I think it's going to be one of those things where every time we play him, he brings his A game and we just struggle against him going forward for the rest of his career. Luckily, now that he's in the West, we're not going to see him. Well, he was already in the West. But we're not going to see him all that often, which is a positive. If he was on an Eastern Conference team or a team in the division, it'd be very scary because not going to be easy games to win. Sergeant Buckhick, if you can make adjustments to the team roster, what would it be? I mean, really. Oh, I hit the mic. It survived. I just made the fatal hit. We need a top six to play with Jack and Bratt. And we need, realistically, probably, this is not going to get solved this season, but between now and puck drop next season, we probably need, realistically, like 3 bottom 6 guys, at least. Probably 3 bottom 6 guys. If we could get 1 this season, and then that would leave us would have to get 2 in the off season. That'd be nice. I think Gritsuk is supposedly going to be coming here next year, so he could potentially be one of them, or he could maybe even be a top 6 guy. But again, that's at least another forward to kind of push people down or out of the lineup next year. But I do think minimum you need a top 6 guy and probably 3 bottom 6 guys. We're probably 4 guys away from a roster that is anywhere near optimal, in my opinion. I think there's some bottom 6 guys that if you get other pieces that could complement them better, you could have a better overall bottom 6. But we need pieces. And again, it's not all going to happen at the deadline, but it'd be a nice start if we could get a top 6 and a bottom 6 and then not have as much work to do in the offseason. But there's going to be work to do. I'm hoping McCann would be a nice one. I would like to see it. Stefan, I love Timo too. I want him on the team, but for some reason it seems like he doesn't belong. At least the coaches aren't using him as that big Ed. No power play one and constantly has to play his off wing. Yeah, you can't like what more can he do? Like it's unfortunate he's not putting the puck in the net right now, but he is a difference maker on a lot of nights. And again, off wing and not getting power play one, like you saw what he did in San Jose, and that's why we traded for him, and that's why we extended him and paid him a lot of money. It's like use him in the way that he was being used before he got here. The reason you wanted him was for right wing, power play one, roaming in the circle, and just ripping bombs, just ripping beautiful lasers into the back of the net on the power play. I don't know what it's going to take for it to ever happen. I just don't know. Evan, way to get through this is Dirty Devil Vodka. It's so vital for us diehards. Let's go, Devs. Beat the hockey club in the Beehive State. Keep the faith. I didn't know that Utah was the Beehive State. I learned something new every day. Thank you for that, Evan. I had no idea that Utah was the Beehive State. It's very interesting. Yo, Holmes, when you go to games and sit close, you appreciate what Timo brings. Trevor, the demise of Mac Black is when they forced him to take the clot shot. After that, he was even worse. I forgot about that controversy. Man, that was a whole story in itself, too. What a nightmare. He was definitely vilified for that. Wild stuff. What a world we live in. That seems like forever ago. Anyone have anything else in these late night hours? What a painful loss. This would have been such a beautiful win. We would have jumped over Carolina for the time being. Would have had back-to-back wins. There was so many reasons why it would have been such a nice win. But we can't have nice things. We cannot have nice things. Anyone else? Closing time. Closing time. I think that's it. Looks like that's it. Well, painful night. The Devils get clobbered. They were in the game till the end. Down 2-0, made it 2-1, made it interesting for a little bit, and then they just fell apart. Nathan MacKinnon with a crazy hand-eye coordination goal to give them the 3-1 lead. Then we just fell apart completely. They get 2 more. Jake Allen storms off the ice, and it was a wild one. It was a wild one. Devils fall 5-1. Back in action Saturday night in apparently the Beehive. My God. The Beehive State against the Utah Hockey Club. Looking to get back in the win column, and it's a dogfight, guys. We're in for the fight of our lives down the stretch here. Hopefully they make the playoffs. We get 3 more games until the trade deadline. Hopefully Fitzy can do something to help this group out, and hopefully we can get our shit together and play consistently heading into the playoffs. It would be nice. It would be nice, but I'm devastated, and that's it. Hit the thumbs up on your way out if you can. Thanks for coming out. If you're on the East Coast, it's ridiculously late, or I guess ridiculously early, depending on how you look at it. And I'll be back. I might do a pregame. It's a Saturday night, so Saturdays typically I feel like I get in the pregame mode. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but I might do a pre-pregame live before that one, but we'll see. We'll see how it all goes out. If you're newer to the channel, poke around on the channel, check out some of the videos. The first 2 parts of the Cam Jansen interview came out recently. I got some vlogs from Boston. I have some other Boston-related stuff coming out soon. Yegorov warm-up footage and a Jay Pandolfo interview. There's always stuff going on. So go check that out. And that's it, guys. I'm delirious. Painful night. And that's it. Thanks for coming out. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go